Mother, I've brought a guest for dinner.
Who is it, Nausicaa?
This stranger. I don't know his name yet, but he says he needs help. A foreigner. Well, sit down then. And why are you wearing my daughter's clothes?
Please don't be upset. Your daughter was very kind to me. She found me on the beach exposed to the elements and was kind enough to borrow me some clothing.
I appreciate your praise of my daughter's virtues. She's of marrying age. Allow me to offer you her hand in marriage.
I am honored by your offer, but I am already married.
So tell us, foreigner, what is your name?
My name is Odysseus.
Odysseus? But he's been missing for 10 years. You must tell us where you've been, and then Father can help you get home, can't you, Father?
We will see. Let us hear his tale first. Come and tell us, Odysseus, what happened when you left Troy?
Well, the journey back started well enough. We were in need of supplies, so we stopped to raid the city of Cicones in Ismarus. They fought back, of course, and each of my ships lost 6 men. Little did I know that I would lose so much more than that. After we left Cicones, we were caught up in a mighty storm, and it swept us around for 9 full days.
That's quite a storm.
Indeed, it was the strongest I have ever had the misfortune to encounter. When we were released from the storm, we found ourselves at the shore of an island that was inhabited by strange people. The natives seemed friendly, and offered some of my men the fruit of the lotus. Once they had tasted it, they forgot all of their thoughts of home, and wished only to remain and eat more of the fruit. It was only by dragging them back to the ships and locking them away that we were able to escape the island with them.
How remarkable all that could come about from a piece of fruit.
It was then that we landed on the island of the Cyclopes. At first we simply hunted some wild goats on a small island off the shore, but we needed some more supplies, so we crossed the big island and came across a cave that was full of sheep and crates full of milk and cheese. My men encouraged me to take some and run back to the ship. I did not listen, however, and soon the owner of the sheep and the cave, Cyclopes by the name of Polyphemus, returned. He made a good show of hospitality at first, then, as quick as Zeus's own lightning, he snatched 2 of my men and ate them.
Oh, how awful!
He trapped the rest of us there as well by rolling a large boulder that was his door over the cave entrance. The only way we were getting out was if he moved that boulder and let us out. If this had not been the case, I would have run him through right then and there. So instead, we began to plan an escape. The next day, the Cyclops went to tend to his sheep in the pasture. The men and I found one of his shepherd's staves and began to shape it to a point and harden it in the fire. When Polyphemus returned, we made him offerings of the wine we had brought with us from our ship. We got him drunk. He got to chatting with me and he asked my name. I told him I was nobody. Once he passed out, we took the weapon he had crafted earlier that day and drove it through his eye. He made a huge racket and was yelling to his neighbors, "Nobody is killing me!" which of course brought him no help whatsoever.
Nobody. That was very clever of you.
But however did you escape the cave? He must have been furious.
Oh, yes, he was. We stayed well away from him the whole night, not daring to make a sound. The next day he went out to take out his sheep as usual. We escaped by clinging to the bellies of his sheep. It is in this way we returned to our ships. Full of triumph for effecting our escape, I made an unfortunate error. In foolish pride, I called out to Polyphemus, telling him that it was Odysseus who had blinded him and escaped. As a son of Poseidon, he lifted up a prayer to his father, asking for retribution. This is where all of our troubles began to multiply. Before that, though, we had the fortune to stay a time with Aeolus, the god of the wind. He offered me as a gift of help a bag of winds. Every wind trapped, except the one that would guide us home. I told my men to never open that bag until we had returned home. At one point, I was overcome by weariness and lay down to rest. Then as I slept, and as Ithaca came into sight, they disobeyed me, thinking that I was keeping some treasure from them, some gold or valuable thing. Opening the bag created a large storm that blew us all the way back to Aeolus. I pleaded with him to help us once more, but he refused.
Oh, how terrible for you to be so close and then to be blown all the way back where you started.
Thank you for your empathy. From Aeolus' island, we sailed to the bay of the land of the Laestrygonians, a race of giants. When they spotted our ships, they began to hurl rocks at our ships. I watched as every ship in my company was sunk, only until my own remained, but I had to sail on. The next island we came to was that of the witch goddess Circe. She was hospitable, feeding my men on cheese and wine, and then half of them turned into pigs.
Pigs!
How frightening.
What about the goddess? Tell us what happened.
Hermes, messenger of the gods, had warned me about Circe's magic and gave me a drug to make me resistant to her powers. Intrigued by my resistance and attracted to me, she made a deal with me. She would return my men to their original state if I would give her my love. What else was I to do? I could not sail with half a crew, so I went to her bed. We remained with Circe for 1 year, after which I finally required of her the best horse to take home. She said that only Tiresias could tell me that, and under her instruction, we sailed across the sea to the entrance of the underworld.
The underworld. Not many people get to see that twice in a lifetime. Please, tell us more.
We dug a pit and made an offering to the dead of cow's blood and wine. They immediately began to appear and gather close. We had to keep the multitude back so that we could speak with Tiresias. He advised me on a course to take and warned me to avoid the island of the sun god Helios and to do no harm to his cattle. Thus we returned from the underworld after speaking with fallen crew members, the prophet Tiresias, and sadly I met with my own mother, who passed, grieving my absence.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It was a sad reunion, but it was she who told me of what was happening back at home. She told me of the 108 greedy suitors who are begging for my wife's hand in marriage.
108? By Zeus, she must be beautiful.
She is. Penelope is the most beautiful woman I have ever laid eyes on. No offense.
None taken. Please continue.
Among my fallen comrades, I spoke with Agamemnon. He told me he was killed upon his rival home by his own wife. Can you imagine walking through the front door, "Honey, I'm home," then stab, you're dead. And to learn your wife had been cheating on and sleeping with your cousin over a family feud. And one of the reasons why you died is because you sacrificed your daughter to the gods to win a war.
Well, we try to stay out of other people's business. We're a pretty close community, and I can assure you I wouldn't sacrifice my daughter for no war.
Understandable. Forgive me, my grace.
No harm done. Please, continue with your adventures.
Very well, my grace. Well, we left the underworld, the gods on our side, and brave Athena stayed by my side over this perilous journey. We returned to Circe, who offered us our fill for the night, and leaving by morning. And during this time, Circe warned us of our upcoming challenges.
How kind.
The first were the sirens. She warned that I would have wanted to sit and listen to their songs that drive ships to be shipwrecked and men lost, never to return home.
How horrible. What did you do?
I had my men tie me to the mast, and told them if I ever begged and pleaded to be released, they were to tie me down more. As for my crew, I had their ears plugged with beeswax, so that they could not hear the songs.
Being the only one who heard the songs and lived to tell the tale. How were they?
Absolutely beautiful. I could hardly resist. I was begging my crew to set me free. I wanted to hear them. I wanted to see what they looked like. But thankfully they did as I told. For I knew that if they had set me free, that would have marked the end of my life. The banks were lined with corpses, with flesh still rotting off their bodies. Nothing lived while passing the valley. The wind was dead. The waters were calm. No birds in the sky above. All to be seen were the sunken ships, corpses, and the godly sun in the sky.
How frightful.
How eerie.
How thankful I am we don't travel.
Past the sirens lay the greater danger, the six-headed monster, Scala, and the whirlpool, Charybdis. I dared not to tell my crew about Scala until we had steered clear of Charybdis.
But why not? Wouldn't you want to tell your crew to prepare for such a terrifying monster?
Even the gods trembled before Scala, and my crew would never make it home. I would rather stay on the island with Circe until our lives had wasted away.
A peerless journey of love. Isn't it beautiful, Achilles?
Dangerous. But I do admit your desire for home and your wife and son is astonishing. What happened with Scylla?
We rubbed up against the cavern where Scala lay. We could hear the sound of hounds. She emerged from the darkness of the cavern. She had 12 misshapen feet, 6 necks of great length, a head on each neck, with 3 rows of teeth in each hand, or head. In an instant, her head swooped down and made off with 6 of my best men. We quickly sped away before she could devour any more of us.
Luckily she didn't sink the ship.
But that wasn't the last time I went through that strait.
It wasn't?
No. My crew didn't obey me at our next danger.
What happened?
Our next destination was Thrinacia. Tiresias and Circe warned not to stop at Thrinacia, for if we ate the horned cattle of the island, the sun god Helios would plunge into the underworld if my men were not punished. We were stranded on the island for a month due to a storm. Our food supply was running short, and all I could do was pray for my safe return. The gods grant me with sleep, but when I woke up, I could smell cooking meat.
But you warned them not to eat the cattle, did you not?
I did, but they complained they were hungry, and for 7 days my crew ate the meat of the cattle, knowing our life was now forfeit. Their argument was, "Starvation is the worst possible death. I'd rather drink salt water for eternity than die hungry." I continued to pray, and they continued to feast. And at the end of 7 days, we set sail, and Zeus drove us back towards Scala and Charybdis, where he struck down his mighty lightning bolts, destroying my ships and drowned my men.
How did you survive?
There was a fig tree above Charybdis, where I hugged and held on for my life, patiently waiting for the monstrous whirlpool to spit up a raft I could drift upon.
I'm assuming she did.
Yes. After that, I paddled with my arms for 9 days until I washed up on the isle of Ogygia, where I met the fair and powerful goddess Calypso, who was compelled to make me her lover for 7 years.
7 years? That's a long time.
Indeed it was. 7 very long years. I tried so hard to resist her advances. It was all thanks to my protectress, Athena, who pleaded to her lord father, Zeus, that I be released.
How could you resist Calypso? She's said to be the fairest of them all.
I must admit, Calypso is even more beautiful than my wife, Penelope. But by far, Penelope is the most beautiful mortal woman I have ever had the opportunity to love. But I must also say, mortals are not fairer than gods and goddesses.
How did Zeus persuade Calypso to set you free?
Remember, Zeus is the god among gods. Whatever he says must be done, or there will be a price. Calypso was angry at first that mortals could not love mortals the same way. But I think she realized I wasn't going to be around forever, and thus decided to set me free with a raft, wine, and bread.
You have endured so much hardship to get home to your wife and son.
Indeed he has, my dear. Odysseus, I have decided. My people are good sailors. We will give you a ship and a crew to sail it. We will get you home to Ithaca.
You are very good to me, King Alcinous. I thank you very much.